My name is Sarah Miller, and I'm currently in my second trimester of pregnancy. For the past 7 years, I've worked as a medical office administrator at Riverside General Hospital, managing patient records and coordinating with insurance companies. It's a stable job that I genuinely enjoy, especially since it's where I met my husband, Michael, a software engineer who came in for what turned out to be a minor wrist injury 3 years ago. The irony of working in women's health while dealing with my own family's fertility drama isn't lost on me. Every day, I handle appointment schedules for our obstetrics department, file ultrasound records, and watch expectant mothers come and go. Now I'm one of them, though my own pregnancy journey has unleashed a family storm I should have seen coming. My sister Jessica, who's 30 and used to work as a pharmaceutical sales representative for one of the biggest companies in the country, managed to convince our parents and most of our relatives to skip my wedding during her divorce. The truth about her failing marriage wasn't dramatic enough to turn people against me, so she resorted to spreading vicious lies to ensure maximum damage to my special day. 3 years ago, pre-wedding drama. It all started when Jessica's marriage began falling apart. She'd been married to Thomas, a resident doctor, for 2 years at that point. They dated for 3 years before getting married, and from the very beginning, Thomas had been crystal clear about wanting a child-free lifestyle. I distinctly remember the family dinner where Jessica first brought this up. I was sitting in our parents' living room, updating patient records on my laptop as usual. Being invisible was my specialty in family gatherings. Jessica was perched on her favorite armchair, the one Dad had bought specifically for her, announcing her plans as if she were delivering a business presentation. "Thomas doesn't want children right now," she'd said with that confident smile she'd perfected during her pharmaceutical sales career. "But I know I can change his mind eventually. It's just a matter of time." Our parents, Mark and Linda, nodded along encouragingly. Mom even said, "Of course you can, sweetheart. You've always been so persuasive in your career." This is no different. I remember fighting the urge to point out that convincing doctors to prescribe certain medications was vastly different from changing someone's fundamental life choices. But as usual, I kept quiet. In our family dynamic, Jessica was the star, and I was just the supporting cast. The divorce begins. Months of fighting followed, with Jessica pushing harder for children and Thomas standing firm in his decision. During our weekly family dinners, Jessica would dominate the conversation with complaints about how difficult her marriage had become. "He just doesn't understand how much being a mother means to me," she'd say, while our parents offered sympathetic nods and reassuring pats. I'd sit there, processing medical bills and insurance claims on my laptop, thinking how this whole situation could have been avoided if she'd just respected Thomas's choice from the beginning. But voicing that opinion would have been like setting off a nuclear bomb at the dinner table. The wedding plans begin. Then came the news that shattered our family's fragile peace. Just as Michael and I were putting down deposits for our wedding venues, after 4 years of careful planning and saving, Jessica announced she was moving back in with our parents. She and Thomas had reached their breaking point. The timing couldn't have been worse. I was juggling wedding preparations with my responsibilities at the hospital, trying to coordinate with vendors during my lunch breaks and between patient appointments. Michael and I had waited until we were both stable in our careers, him as a senior software engineer and me with my recent promotion to lead administrator in our department. But the day after we paid our last venue deposit, my parents called me into their house for a serious discussion. I still remember sitting in their formal dining room, the same place where we'd celebrated Jessica's academic achievements and job promotions over the years. "Sarah," my father began, his voice carrying that authoritative tone he used for important business deals. "We need you to postpone your wedding indefinitely." I thought I'd misheard. "What?" My mother reached across the table, her expensive bracelet catching the light. "Honey, Jessica's going through such a difficult time." Getting divorced while you're planning your wedding? It would devastate her. She's already struggling with putting her dreams of motherhood on hold, my father added. Watching you get your happy ending right now would be cruel. The initial resistance. I sat there, stunned, watching my parents act as if they'd just made a perfectly reasonable request. Years of processing medical insurance claims had taught me to maintain composure in frustrating situations, but this was testing my limits. I'm not postponing my wedding, I said firmly, using the same tone I used with difficult insurance companies. Michael and I have been planning this for years. We've already paid the deposits. My mother's face hardened. If you insist on being this selfish, we won't attend. The words hit me like a physical blow. I'd seen them favor Jessica countless times over the years. The expensive private school while I went to public. The new car for her graduation while I got bus passes. The constant praise for her pharmaceutical sales career while my steady hospital job was barely acknowledged. But this was a new level of betrayal. Jessica's campaign begins. What happened next was like watching a masterclass in manipulation. Jessica, who'd spent years perfecting her sales techniques, began a systematic campaign to turn our entire family against me. It started subtly, sympathetic WhatsApp messages to relatives about how insensitive I was being, carefully worded social media posts about family loyalty during difficult times. At first, she just played the victim. I can't believe my own sister would be so cruel as to get married while I'm going through this trauma. But when that only earned her sympathy, not action, she escalated her tactics. The rumors started spreading through our family WhatsApp groups and private messages. According to Jessica, I had secretly been meeting with Thomas throughout their marriage, convincing him to embrace a child-free lifestyle. She claimed I'd been jealous of her potential motherhood, that I'd deliberately sabotaged their marriage because I couldn't stand the idea of her having children before me. The unraveling. The wedding RSVPs started arriving. Or rather, the rejections did. I'd check my work email during quiet moments at the hospital, watching as one family member after another declined. Most didn't even bother giving a reason. Just a cold, regretfully cannot attend. A few cousins who were still talking to me shared screenshots from the family WhatsApp groups, showing how Jessica had been methodically poisoning everyone against me. She's been telling everyone that you convinced Thomas to leave her, my cousin Emma messaged me privately. She's saying you told him having children would ruin his medical career. The absurdity of it was staggering. In the 3 years Jessica had been married to Thomas, we'd barely interacted beyond polite small talk at family gatherings. As a medical resident, he was rarely even at those. The idea that I'd somehow orchestrated their divorce was laughable, but people believed it. The wedding day. My wedding day arrived with a painfully empty section where my family should have been. The only relatives present were a handful of cousins who'd seen through Jessica's lies, and a few distant aunts who didn't participate in family drama. The rest of the seats were filled with friends, co-workers from the hospital, and Michael's wonderfully supportive family. I remember standing in the bridal room, looking at my phone one last time before the ceremony. The family WhatsApp group was buzzing with photos from a lunch Jessica had organized on my wedding day for all the relatives who'd boycotted my wedding. She'd even tagged me in a Facebook post about choosing to spend time with people who truly value family. My coworker Carol, who'd become like a sister to me over years of working together, took my phone away. Today isn't about them, she said firmly. It's about you and Michael. And she was right. Despite the conspicuously empty seats, despite the whispers and the drama, we had a beautiful wedding. Michael's family embraced me completely, his mother holding me like her own daughter as we took family photos. My hospital colleagues and friends filled the venue with genuine joy and celebration. The truth emerges. A year later, the real story came out in the most unexpected way. I was processing admission forms at my desk in the hospital when I heard a familiar voice. Sarah? Is that you? Looking up, I found myself face to face with Thomas. He'd taken a position as a resident at our hospital, something I hadn't known given how large the facility was. The awkwardness was immediate. After all, his divorce from Jessica had inadvertently led to the implosion of my family relationships. But instead of avoiding me, he came over to congratulate me on my wedding. I'm sorry I couldn't attend, he said, looking genuinely regretful. Though I'm confused, Jessica kept telling me she was too busy with your wedding preparations to attend our divorce mediation sessions. The devastating truth. That casual comment led to a conversation that changed everything. Over coffee in the hospital cafeteria, Thomas revealed the real reason for their divorce. Yes, their disagreement about children had been a major issue, but the final straw was far more disturbing. She told me she'd stopped taking her birth control pills months ago, he explained, stirring his coffee absently. She said it as if it was something cute, something I should be happy about. She told me that eventually I'd have to deal with it when she got pregnant. I nearly dropped my cup. She was trying to trap you? She seemed to think I'd be excited once it actually happened, Thomas said, shaking his head. When I told her that deliberately deceiving your partner about contraception is reproductive coercion, she acted like I was overreacting. That was our last fight. The truth hit me like a punch to the gut. While Jessica had been spreading lies about me ruining her marriage, she'd actually sabotaged it herself. She'd used my wedding as a smokescreen, delaying divorce proceedings under the pretense of helping with preparations she'd never actually been involved in. Present day, the pregnancy announcement. Now 3 years later, I'm sitting in the hospital break room, staring at my phone. The pregnancy announcement Michael and I carefully crafted. A simple photo of my hospital ID badge next to a tiny pair of baby shoes has just gone live on social media. The likes and comments are pouring in, mostly from friends and colleagues sharing in our joy. Then I see it. Mom is typing, followed immediately by Jessica is typing. My hand instinctively moves to my belly, as if protecting my unborn child from what's coming. After 3 years of blessed silence, my family is about to resurface, and I already know why. The first message drops into my WhatsApp. Mom, Sarah, honey. We're so thrilled about the baby. We need to talk. Your sister has been struggling with something, and this might be the perfect opportunity for healing. The reconciliation attempt. During dinner that evening, while Michael and I were enjoying our quiet meal in our apartment, my phone rang. My parents' number flashed on the screen, and with Michael's supportive nod, I put it on speaker. Sarah, sweetie. My mother Linda's voice dripped with artificial warmth. We saw your wonderful news. Your father and I have been thinking. I pushed my pasta around my plate, already sensing where this was going. My father Mark chimed in, his businessman's voice carefully modulated. Princess, we think it's time to heal our family. Jessica's been having such a difficult time. Then came the real reason for their call. Jessica had apparently been through multiple failed IVF treatments. She'd been trying with donor sperm since her divorce, but nothing had worked. She refused to consider adoption or surrogacy, insisting on having her own biological child. Think about it, Sarah, my mother continued, her voice taking on that persuasive tone she'd perfected over years of real estate sales. Your baby could have 2 mothers. Jessica has so much love to give. She's studied all the latest childcare techniques. She could help you so much, my father added. You know how demanding your hospital job can be. Jessica isn't working right now, so she'd have all the time in the world to help with the baby. I felt the familiar surge of anger rising in my chest. Through countless insurance claim disputes and difficult patient interactions at work, I'd learned to maintain my composure. But this was beyond anything I could have imagined. Let me get this straight. I said, my voice eerily calm. You want me to share my baby with the sister who convinced our entire family to boycott my wedding? The same sister who spread vicious lies about me destroying her marriage. The silence on the other end spoke volumes. That's completely deranged, I continued, years of suppressed fury finally finding its voice. If you wanted to make things right, you should have reached out because I'm your daughter, and you treated me horribly. Not because I'm having a baby that Jessica can use as her emotional support animal. Now, Sarah, my father's voice turned stern, the same tone he used when defending Jessica's every mistake throughout our childhood. We're just trying to help. You'll need all the support you can get when the baby comes, and Jessica has volunteered. Volunteered? I couldn't help but laugh. I have all the help I need. I have Michael, his family, and my friends from the hospital. You know, the people who actually showed up to my wedding? That's when I said it. The words that would ignite a new family firestorm. Maybe there's a reason Jessica can't get pregnant. Maybe the universe knows that someone who would try to baby trap her husband shouldn't be a mother. The social media storm. The backlash was immediate and intense. Within minutes, my phone was flooded with WhatsApp notifications and text messages. Mom, how dare you say something so cruel to your sister? Dad, we did not raise you to be this heartless. Jessica, you've always been jealous of me. Now everyone will see your true colors. Aunt Susan, Sarah, that was completely uncalled for. Apologize to your sister. Uncle Bob, your behavior is disgraceful. Family should support each other. Even some of my cousins who'd remained neutral during the wedding drama were messaging me, saying I'd gone too far. My work phone started buzzing too. Apparently, Jessica had started messaging some of my hospital colleagues through LinkedIn. 2 weeks of chaos. Over the next 2 weeks, my parents and Jessica launched a full-scale social media campaign against me. They never mentioned me by name, but their posts were clearly targeted. Mom's Facebook. It breaks my heart when someone takes joy in another's pain. Infertility is not a punishment. Jessica's Instagram. Some people show their true colors when you're at your lowest. But karma has a way of remembering. Dad's LinkedIn. Families should be there for each other in times of need. Disappointed in those who choose cruelty over compassion. I watch these posts appear during my lunch breaks at the hospital, between processing insurance claims and scheduling appointments. My coworkers noticed my distraction. Everything okay? Carol asked one day, catching me staring at my phone. You look like you just read a terrible diagnosis. Just family drama, I replied, trying to focus on the stack of medical records on my desk. The breaking point. Then they crossed a line. Jessica posted a lengthy reflection about her divorce, once again insinuating that I had been the one to ruin her marriage. The post went viral in our extended family circles, with relatives sharing it and adding their own comments about how they'd always suspected something wasn't right. That evening, I reached out to Thomas through our hospital's internal messaging system. They're spreading the old lies again. I'm thinking of telling the whole truth. Would you be okay with that? His response came during his evening rounds. Thomas, go ahead. It's time people knew what really happened. The truth bomb. I sat in our apartment that night, Michael beside me, and started typing. My post was direct and detailed. Since my pregnancy announcement has sparked renewed interest in my sister's divorce, let me share the real reason her marriage ended. It wasn't because I convinced her husband to leave her. It was because she secretly stopped taking birth control, planning to trap him into fatherhood. I included screenshots of old messages, emails, and family group chats. I described how she'd used my wedding as a smokescreen to delay her divorce proceedings. Everything was laid bare. The family implosion. The response to my post was explosive. My phone nearly crashed from the flood of notifications. Cousin Emma. Oh my God, Sarah. I had no idea. I'm so sorry, we believed her lies. Aunt Susan. This can't be true. Jessica would never do something like that. Uncle Bob. Does Thomas know you're sharing this? This seems like private information. The family WhatsApp groups erupted into chaos. Screenshots of my post were being shared everywhere, accompanied by shocked comments and accusations. Some relatives who'd shunned me for years were suddenly sliding into my DMs with awkward apologies. Others doubled down, accusing me of making up lies about Jessica yet again. Jessica and my parents went suspiciously quiet for 3 days. Then came the email. Dear Sarah, we're prepared to apologize for everything if you take down that post. The family is in upheaval, and it's time to end this. Jessica is devastated, and your father and I can't bear to see our family torn apart like this. Love. Mom and Dad. The final decision. Sitting in our apartment study, where I often worked on complicated insurance claims, I stared at their email for a long time. Michael sat beside me, one hand resting protectively on my growing baby bump. My response was brief. Your apologies mean nothing when they're just damage control. The post stays up until I decide otherwise. I blocked their email addresses immediately after sending it. Then I turned off my phone and curled up next to Michael on the couch. You okay? He asked softly. Actually, I am, I replied, surprising myself with how true it felt. Epilogue. A week later, I quietly removed the post. Not for them, but for me. My pregnancy journey deserved better than to be tangled up in old family drama. Working in the hospital's maternity ward had taught me how precious and fleeting this time was. I wasn't going to let it be overshadowed by toxic family dynamics. The truth was out there now, and I couldn't take it back. But more importantly, I didn't want to. Some relatives still maintained contact, mostly through gentle congratulatory messages about the baby. Others remained firmly in Jessica's camp, convinced I was the villain in this story. But sitting at my desk in the hospital's administrative office, looking at the ultrasound picture tucked into my drawer, I realized it didn't matter anymore. My baby would grow up surrounded by people who chose to be present, who chose love over manipulation, truth over lies. When patients come to the maternity ward now, I see family dynamics play out every day. The good, the bad, and the ugly. It's taught me that sometimes the family you create is stronger than the family you're born into. I place my hand on my growing belly, feeling a gentle kick. It's just us now, little one, I whisper. And that's more than enough.